Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on April 21st, and I'd like to call this virtual Board of Education meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone, and at this time we will take a roll call attendance. Myself, Nancy Roche, Kristin Morrissey.
Present.
Wes McCall.
Present.
Tom Cleveland.
I'm here.
Darla Light.
I'm here.
And Superintendent Jeff Bearden.
Present.
Now, would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You have before you a recommended agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda?
No recommended changes.
Hearing no changes, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion by Tom and a second by Kristin. Is there anyone opposed to approval? Hearing no opposition, the motion is passed. Next is our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tom, second by Kristin. Is there anyone opposed to approval of the consent agenda? Hearing no opposition, motion passes. Our first presentation this evening is our finance report with Larry Hamill.
Thank you, everyone. Mike, are you doing the slides?
Yes.
Okay, can you push to the next one, please? Tonight, we're going to discuss the March 2020 financial statements. Next slide, please. Of course, we always have to keep goal 3 in mind when we talk about our financial statements. Next slide, please. So the good news is March actually was a very good month for Forsyth County School System. We didn't see any decrease in revenues, and expenses actually came in a little bit less than we thought. Currently, hey, quick question, Mike, is there any way to move that bar out of the way to see the number at the bottom, or my bar just in the way here?
I think your bar may be in the way.
Okay, that's fine. If you look at the bottom there, you can see that the cash and cash equivalents on March 31st was $124.6 million. This time last year, it was only 110.8. A couple things I do want to point out to you that we're doing well in collections right now is the local property tax. This time last year, it was only $616,000. The title ad valorem tax was about $1 million. The intangible was about $270,000. And the real estate transfer tax is $106,000. Do I think that's going to hold like that going forward for the month of April, May? No, I don't think for the month of April for sure. We'll have to wait and see how May goes with the governors opening up the economy back again. If we go to the next page, as you can see in the revenue, we're actually at 85% collections. That's actually a little bit ahead of last year. Last year, we're about 83.56. And if you look at the first several line items, ad valorem, intangible, real estate, and title, we are slightly ahead or way ahead of where we were last year at this time. For example, intangibles were already at 98.78%. This time last year, we're only at 49.33. And then the big one, the ad valorem taxes, we're at 98.82, and last year we're only at 97.86. Next slide, please. So you can see we're at 75.3% in expenditures year to date. The number that we should be at, if you do an actual calculation, is 75. And actually this time last year we're at 75.31. So we're right on target for budget expenditures year to date as we see it right now. Any questions on that slide? Next slide, please. As you can see, our current cash balances are higher than usual. The balance we had in debt service last year at this time was 24.9. The SPLOST 5 account was 3.5. SPLOST 5 Treasury was 5.3. And total of all the accounts last year was 33.6. So we're doing very well on our collections. I'm sorry? Somebody have a question? Okay. Next slide, please, Mike. This is the money we have sitting in the LGIP fund. It's a little bit lower than last year. The main majority reason is if you look at the Fund 306 2018 bonds, there's only about 26 million in there. This time last year, that was over $100 million. Right now, we're at $151.9 million in total investments. This time last year, we're at 247. Next month, you'll see a huge increase when we deposit the $187 million for the 2020 bonds we issued. They'll be in that account. Next slide, please, Mike. So still some good news here on the sponsor collection so far. So the sponsor collections last year average was $3.26 million. So if you look at the total average down there of 3.33, compared to that number, we're about $72,000 ahead of average per month. And if you look at the last 12 months, which is the $3.45 million number, and compared to last year, we're actually about $192,000, almost $193,000 up per month over last year. In the last 12 months, we've been averaging about $120,000 more than the total collections so far year to date. I think that number is going to drop next month. I'm not sure how much by. As soon as we find out, I can send that information out to you. Next slide, please. One thing you're going to see on the school information, both for elementary, middle, and high, is you're going to notice that the revenue and disbursements are a lot lower than they usually are this time of the year, just because the schools have been closed. One thing you're going to see on the high school in a second is, and it also counts as well as elementary, middle, is that they're having to do a lot of refunds on trips and clubs and stuff like that, where people weren't able to complete that activity, and the schools have been refunding the money. But overall, the elementary balances are $5.2 million this year, and last year they're 4.9. Even though the activity, revenues, and expenditures are about equal here, they're on average about where they should be in terms of activity, but they are reduced from last year. Mike, next page, please. And I just want to point out at the high school level at the bottom, you'll see disbursements are really high this month, 451 versus receipts. That again is because the high school collects more money for activity, field trips and stuff, and that money is being reimbursed both through the month of March and probably through the month of April as well. The balance in the middle schools is 709. Last year was about 1.88. They've dropped a little bit. And the high schools have gone up to 4.318, as you can see, from 4.19 last year. Overall, the school accounts are in good shape. I see no problems with those. Next page, Mike. As you can see, the breakdown percentage, 38, 47, 15, it's slightly changed from last year, not much. And right now, we're slightly ahead of last year balances. We've got $11.27 million in total bank for all the schools. Last year was about $11,071,000. It would be a lot further along right now if it wasn't for all the activity going on with the COVID-19. And that is the March 2020 financial statements. Any questions? All right, Mike.
I don't hear any questions. Thank you, Larry.
No problem.
Next on our agenda is Matt Wark, and he will be presenting the 2 action items for the facilities department.
Yes, thank you. I do want to start by saying we're in the facilities department. We're really pushing and trying to utilize this time of the schools being empty to working with our contractors to get them in as soon as possible, get the work started. Just to quickly jump back to the Sharon floor that was done in the consent agenda, we're happy to say that that was the same contractor that did the upstairs last summer, and material is already on site. He is waiting for a phone call this evening to go ahead and get started tomorrow, which we're trying to do everything we can to stay out of the schools in July. So we're really trying to utilize this time. I'll move into the action items. The first is I would ask the board the recommendation to approve the C.T.A.E. lab modifications for the 4 middle schools to CBI general contractors. This contractor is done a lot of work for us. The good news is it's a local company, which is great, headquartered here in Cumming. The bid tabulations and things were attached. This is being funded through the C.T.A.E. program, but facilities is kind of managing the construction piece of it. We did the bidding and things of that nature, but this is actually funded through C.T.A.E. CBI, you'll know, did all of Central Stadium and renovations here recently, as well as all of our renovations down at South High. So very good company. We're glad to have them back working on our projects. So with that, I would recommend the board, I'm sorry, one extra thing. Part of these contracts, you'll notice the start date. These guys are also willing to start by next week. And that shows our substantial completion of July 7th, which is outstanding, so that we're not pressing that start of school. So I wanted to bring that to your attention as well. So with that, I would make this recommendation.
Recommend approval.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent. Do we have a motion?
So moved by Tom.
A second and just a question.
Okay, we have a motion by Tom and a second by Kristin. And now we'll go into discussion. Thank you.
Where are the funds coming from? It says funded through career and development. So where are the funds coming for this project?
I don't know if Larry has that on hand, but from my understanding, I believe this may still be part of what was approved in the 14 bond. It got delayed because of all the other projects, but I believe this was part of her bond. That I don't know. Like I said, it was funded through them.
Yeah, I can pull something up real quick. Hold on.
I think it might ring a bell from last week's conversation, maybe.
I'm almost positive
Yeah,
on
it
that.
does.
It's not the premium money at all. It's actually bond. And I know from what I've been hearing is some of these bond things had to get pushed off because there were so many projects coming in with the 18. I'm assuming that again. I don't.
It's 14 bond money, Matt.
Okay, so it is 2014 bond money.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right. If there's no more questions,
No more
I'll move on to
questions.
the next one.
Hang on, we have to vote on that one first. Is there anyone opposed to approval to this motion? Hearing no opposition, motion passes. You're on, Matt.
Okay, going on to Lakeside Middle School Cafeteria in addition. Again, we would recommend the board awarding this Lakeside Middle School Cafeteria Addition and Tech Lab, again, to CBI contractors, same as before. We're happy to know that they're going to be working on both these contracts. You'll notice this one's a little bit different. The C.T.A.E, the Tech Lab is technically part of the previous one's funding. The cafeteria part is a 2018 bond item for facilities, but the contractor and the architect kept it all in one since it's one school. We will work out that funding source and how to pay for that, but it's majority, the big piece is the cafeteria, and that is a 2018 facility bond for us. But it is CBI. We're excited to have that. And again, the completion date is the 7th of July, except for the cafeteria. Please notice the cafeteria will go into school. They're trying to have that estimated by December, I believe. Yeah, by Christmas, they're trying to have the cafeteria done. That's a lot larger of an expansion. We are working with the school administrators. It should not be an issue with school. We are prepared and ready to go. They'll leave the existing wall up while they bump out and do the extensions, so it does not disturb any school.
Okay, with that, I recommend approval.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Tom and a second by Kristin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, is anyone opposed to approval? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the points of information. Dr. Bearden?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, we all know Governor Kemp made the announcement yesterday about certain businesses that will open this Friday. Other businesses will be allowed to open on Monday. However, other than that, the shelter-in-place order is still in place until midnight, April 30th. So I just wanted to let board members know all of our department heads are working with their staff members. Starting on Monday, May 4th, any staff member who can still do their work remotely will be doing that. However, those staff members that are unable to complete their work remotely, now that the shelter in place will have been lifted, those staff members will report to work on Monday, May 4th. we are doing as has been recommended to bring folks back gradually. They will all be required to follow the guidelines that are part of the phase 1 reopening. We will certainly be practicing social distancing. Staff members will not be congregating in any one location. But as Matt pointed out earlier, we have lots of work we can get done in terms of custodial work and maintenance work. And so primarily all of those staff members that are 240-day employees, many of them have been at home because of the shelter-in-place order. We should be able to have them report back to work on Monday, May 4th. So we will continue to follow the guidance that we get both from the White House and the governor's office in terms of these different phases and how we allow folks back onto our campuses. And we're really taking it one step at a time. So phase 1 will start 1st of May. And many of our employees, again, the ones that cannot work remotely, will be allowed to come back and work on our campuses as long as they're following the guidelines that have been established.
That sounds good. Does anyone have any other comments? If not, do we have a motion to go into executive session per our affidavit?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion from Kristin, a second from Tom. Is there any opposition to approval of the motion? Hearing no opposition, motion passes. Thank you.